Nigeria will soon make a $100 million capital contribution to the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, further strengthening its role as the largest shareholder in the regional financial institution. This development was announced during an interactive session with leaders of ECOWAS institutions and agencies at the 2025 First Ordinary Session of ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja on Thursday. The announcement was made by the EBID's Director of Research and Strategic Planning, MacDonald Guanu, who represented the bank's president, Dr. George Donko. With the payments, Nigeria will maintain its dominant position on the bank, holding approximately 33% of total shares. EBID currently funds major development projects in all ECOWAS member states, focusing on infrastructure, energy, transport, agriculture, and healthcare. Right now, we have Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Muktar, Finance with Muktar, joining us now. It's great to have you in.
Thank you for having me, Tiana.
Right. So at a time when, bigger nations are weakening their ties with multilateral institutions, Nigeria happens to be strengthening its ties with ECOWAS. What are your thoughts around the strategy with this?
And that's why Nigeria is sometimes when the people go left, we go right. When they go left, we go left. But we understand, and being the largest shareholder in ECOWAS, maybe we want to continue to have that grip. Remember that ECOWAS also has a lot of challenges at the moment. Some members countries have left ECOWAS due to issues that have to do with democracy. And our president is the president of ECOWAS, and ECOWAS is celebrating its 50 years anniversary. So maybe those were what the president is looking at to up our stakeholder, our shareholding in ECOWAS as a bank. But for me, I think it's a diplomatic move to continue to see we be in control of ECOWAS, especially now they are going through a lot of challenges, especially when you have to look at the security and challenges that ECOWAS is going through the Sahel region, which is affecting a lot of Nigerians, especially in the northeast, north central. And so I think the government is using that as a yardstick also to have a grip on that. And with that, they can be able to talk to other nations in terms of security.
Diplomatic move, but there are those who question the strength and the influence ECOWAS has. So, how does that justify the need to strengthen our grip in ECOWAS, considering how, would I say, relevant ECOWAS is in the region, sub-region?
Well, maybe we are looking at the future because, again, in as much as you think ECOWAS has a challenge, also you have to look at what ECOWAS will be able to achieve in the near future, especially when you put the African Continental Trade Agreement in the by and by what will happen. Because no matter how long it takes, there will come a point where that agreement will see the light of the day, and then you begin to see the impact of ECOWAS. And you also mustn't forget that at a time like this, again, where we have been challenged because of the world and trade policy, world trade in terms of the tariff war. Most ECOWAS countries will soon start looking inward to begin to do trade balance, trade within themselves. And also, you shouldn't also forget that we still have that large picture of the single eco currency. So when you are the largest shareholder, then you begin to see how that ECOWAS central bank may be located in Nigeria. So that will come with a lot of economic benefit to the economy. I think in the long term, maybe Nigeria is beginning to think the long term to solidify its grip on ECOWAS. And now that it looks like ECOWAS is not attractive, that's the best time for Nigerians to make it attractive. And when the time it becomes attractive, then we'll be the leaders leading others to follow. I think that's what I think they are looking at.
That's an interesting strategy. You're an investor, $100 million investment in the EBID. How smart an investment is that? Is it worth it? Considering
in terms of investment.
Sorry, also considering where our country stands, Nigeria, making such a huge investment in ECOWAS, how wise an investment is that?
Look, as an investor, you don't invest in the good times. You look at the fundamentals. The fundamentals of ECOWAS is still very, very strong. No matter the challenges that ECOWAS is facing security-wise. If you look at trade-wise, until we begin to have these security challenges, there seems to be more trade within African sub-region, especially our ECOWAS region, than even other African sub-regions. So definitely, when you look at that, that's a smart move. Like I said, is more or less buying into the vision when others are not seeing the potentiality. I always have this saying, a good investor is not the one that buys when everybody is buying. He's the one that buys when nobody is ready to buy. I think Nigeria is seeing a lot of potential in ECOWAS, especially with the current global challenges that we are facing. At the point it will come to regional trade will be the hallmark of every country, and even country-to-country trade. And when you look at regional trade, country-to-country trade, if you look at Nigeria and the countries that are surrounding us, they are all ECOWAS countries. So definitely, I think it's a smart move looking at the long-term possibility of what will happen, especially with the global trade challenges that we are facing now.
Interesting. So buy the dip somewhat is what you're saying there, and that's what Nigeria is doing with ECOWAS. And as you have said, fragmentation globally, but it seems Africa is huddling together, re-strategizing. Focusing on the bank now, that is ECOWAS Bank investment and development, why has EBID focused more on supporting Nigeria's private sector rather than its public sector infrastructure projects? And what has been its role before now?
You know, Nigerian private sector is the most vibrant sector in Africa. You can't take it from us. We are the largest trade bloc in regional in the ECOWAS sub-region. We are this. I mean, one of the. We would say we are the largest economy in Africa at the moment. Definitely, again, we are a country that our informal sector drives 80% of our economy compared to other economies in Africa. So definitely, ECOWAS see more potential in Nigeria than in other sub-region, and they are not there just because they have the money to spend. They also want to make profit for their shareholders, and they also want to expand. And when you look at that, where else could there be than in Nigeria? So I'm not surprised that they're investing so much in Nigeria. Like I said, the private sector of Nigeria is one of the most vibrant in Africa. If you're looking at that, also look at the African Development Bank. You see that most of their investment in Africa, also most of their high-net investors' investment are in Nigeria also, because there's a lot of potential. You look at the population, you look at the infrastructural decay, or how those investments can move infrastructure. You look at the small businesses, despite those challenges, how they've been able to impact the economy. So by investing more, then you give them more room for expansion, and that also is creating job for just not for Africa, I mean for Nigeria, and then in the long run you see some of these companies expanding to other shore of Africa. So definitely that's what they're saying. Most of their investment in some of these businesses in Nigeria is towards making them regional players, and that is working. If you look at the financial sector, what they've been able to do, if you look at the transportation station, what they've been able to do, if you look at the cement sector, what they've been able to do, started here from Nigeria and now expanding to every region in Africa.
I mean, interesting moves and inroads there. But with this move, Nigeria now has 33% shareholding of EBID's shares. How do you think Nigeria can perhaps leverage its dominant shareholding in EBID to attract more development financing into critical sectors like energy, agriculture, and so on?
Yes, I agree. I think we can leverage that. But again, you talk about energy, you talk about agriculture. Those are good areas that we can look at and trade. But again, we also have to begin to look at the EDI trying to also invest in security, because again, when there is no security, you don't have good investors coming into your country. I think most of the what they should be thinking again is the ECOWAS development. The EDI should also be thinking of how they can begin to invest in security to protect life and property. That also will attract more investors. For me, as a 33% stakeholder, that's what we should be doing. Especially when you look at that, agriculture is the key trade between this region, the regional bloc. So, and again, this agricultural trade is being threatened by terrorism, banditry. I think that's what they should do, because again, if you have good security, then definitely you have investors, and then they'll be able to export their goods, and they will be able to earn a living. So, and that also will have a snowball effect in terms of reduction in poverty in the region, not just only in Nigeria. So I think what they should do, in as much as we look at energy, as we look at agriculture, as we look at infrastructure, we also should look at infrastructure from the area of security. How can we improve security? How can we get some of these countries that are out of ECOWAS back to ECOWAS so that we can begin to look at the larger picture in terms of investment in security and how to guard against this militancy that is happening both in terrorism and banditry. That, for me, should be what Nigeria should be pushing as a shareholder, as the largest shareholder.
Right. And I mean, to be interesting to see how that develops. We know that ECOWAS is, I think, 15 member states. Three of that 15, I believe, have exited or are in the process of exiting. And now Nigeria is putting $100 million into EBID. What does this contribution signal to other ECOWAS member states about Nigeria's long-term economic and political ambitions in the region? And what other signals does it send to other member states of ECOWAS?
You know, there's a saying that when Nigeria sniffs, ECOWAS sniffs, just like when you say when US sniffs, the world economy sniffs. So if Nigeria as a country is investing so much in ECOWAS at this time, and at this point, and looking at the kind of investment they are doing in ECOWAS, and the kind of also, it's not that their own economy doesn't have those challenges. That will boost more confidence into other African countries to begin to look at investing into ECOWAS also. It's just like if you have a company and you are buying back the company share, what we call share buyback, you are getting investors more confident to buy your company share because, again, you can't be buying your company share back if you don't think there's value in it. I think that's what Nigeria is doing, is trying to buy into invest more into ECOWAS to attract more ECOWAS countries to say, look, that means there's a lot of hope in ECOWAS when you see that your big brother Nigeria is also still enlarging its stake in ECOWAS. So for me, it's a confident boost for ECOWAS Bank. So, and that also, this Nigerians setting the tone. You could also begin to see other nations join in that train to increase the investment in ECOWAS, and that would be good for the sub-region.
Right, indeed. Nigeria, the big brother, indeed, and hopefully other brothers follow suit. But speaking of other nations, we know that given India's $1 billion credit support to EBID since 2006, how vital are non-African partners to the bank's operations and expansion?
Come again, I didn't get your question.
So we know that aside within the ECOWAS members, we have India. They have invested $1 billion credit support to the bank, EBID. So how important do you think it is for non-African partners? How important is their role in the bank's operation and expansion?
I'm even surprised that the Chinese have not invested there yet, because again, Indians is beginning to see value, and you see, globally, the world are looking for new trade partners, especially Asian nations, possibly European nations, and they want to get new partners rather in terms of bloc. That's why you see that when you are in bloc, there's more power in terms of negotiation. You can see that with the EU negotiation with the United States. You can see that with the Arab country negotiation with the United States. You can see that even within the Asia country. So they are beginning to look at an investment in a regional bloc like ECOWAS. Also means that you're investing in about 15 countries, which gives you the way for your local businesses to expand to these 15 countries. So I think it's a smart move by India, and hopefully other nations will take advantage of that. You should also not forget that other bodies are investing in this ECOWAS region, also through the ECOWAS Bank. So a lot of companies also are looking at that space and investing in like you say, in the area of agriculture, especially cocoa production, in ways to see how they can improve the yield in cocoa production so that they can get more yield and in turn help most of the economy. Because when you look at those economy in Africa, one of their key cash crop in terms of export is cocoa. You look at Cote d'Ivoire, you look at Ghana, you even look at Nigeria, then you also look at a new entrance just because they are sharing border with Nigeria and Cameroon. Their main drive is cocoa. So definitely that also is what ECOWAS Bank has been investing in those space to see how they can improve the yield and also make it competitive in global market, and also making it have a finished product here rather than just exporting cocoa. Then these are part of the investment that ECOWAS Bank is doing. And I think with this 100 million from Nigeria, they will also want to expand those agricultural ventures in the area of cash crops that will bring in effects into the local economies, non-oil economy. So I think India move is a smart move. If you have invested $1 billion and also have access to 15 African countries, 18 before now. So definitely it's a smart move. And you won't be surprised where other countries like the Chinese and then the EU and others will be exploiting those space. And that's why I think it's a smart move for Nigeria to say, look, we're investing about $100 million there. And like you said, India invested $1 billion. So why are you the largest shareholder? That's about 10% of what India has invested. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, so much potential as you have highlighted in the 15 member states. So investment development drive is necessary. But there's always this thing where, for example, now the president of the bank of ECOWAS, the group, is Nigerian, so Nigeria benefits more. So whoever's the president benefits more. But it's also important that there's some sort of equitable distribution, right? So what steps should the EBID take to ensure equitable project distribution across all 15 ECOWAS member states? So it's not just one state, whoever's at the top, benefiting from these funds.
I think I agree with you totally. Corporate governance is needed. You want investments. It's not in Nigeria. It's not in Nigeria association. It's an ECOWAS sub-regional association. So you also should try and see how you can get more ECOWAS nations also investing in this space. I totally agree with you. I'm hopefully they will come up with a blueprint and to see how other ECOWAS nations also could be part of this investment drive. I think that's one thing they should look at. But again, those ECOWAS nations also have to make their own economic attractive for those investment to want to come in there. So that's another thing. So it's not just ECOWAS just trying to put in money there. They also have to make the investment climate possible, because they are not a charitable organization. Like I said, they are a business venture organization. They have shareholders firms. They want to give returns to their shareholders. So other African economy also needs to also take advantage. I think what has happened is that maybe because, like you said, the headquarters is situated in Nigeria, the Nigerians are able to take more advantage. But I think we should go to the rotational movement of the headquarters, like what was done, I think, for the economy at the point for EU, and then where you rotate the headquarters. I think that's one thing they should think of, so that also will make their president visible in other African countries, and also maybe establish Lyceum office in other African countries to let them know what they are doing. And sometimes, if you go to some of these African countries, the challenge is that they don't even know there exists something like an ECOWAS Bank where they can take advantage of maybe even local companies. They don't even know that. So they have to do a lot of enlightenment so that they can expand their niche rather than just depending on Big Brother Nigeria for everything.
Right. And you spoke there about corporate governance. Buy the dip has been the big word there that you have mentioned today. Nigeria investing $100 million. But your final thoughts as we close the conversation on this move by Nigeria in ECOWAS?
Smart move. Very smart move.
All right, period.
A lot of value, especially when we are struggling. We are struggling to see the African Continental Trade Agreement got on its feet. I think we are beginning to look at regional bloc. Regional bloc sometimes is the key. Once you begin to have your grip on the regional bloc, then you are expanding your grip all the other African countries going forward. And especially with the kind of vibrant private sector, informal sector that we have, I think an investment of $100 million in ECOWAS Bank is a very, very, very good move. Especially you see that as an investment into 15 African countries, and again, being the largest shareholder, you'll be able to see some of your companies move into this region because of the kind of responsibility and leadership that you've already taken advantage of. I think for me, it's a very, very good move. Hopefully, we'll see the results. My only challenge is that of this move of $100 million investment, they also need to as I said, security is one. Then secondly, they must build infrastructure also. Infrastructure is not just the road network, it's connectivity. How can I not be able to get a flight from Lagos to Mali direct? Why should I not be able to get a flight for every day from Lagos to Cote d'Ivoire, even to Benin Republic? Why has that not happened? Because we are not doing more trade within ourselves. So this 100 million also should go into enlightenment, should go into building infrastructure, especially infrastructure that have to deal with movement of goods and services. And then when we begin to do large volume of trade together, they won't need to do much for everybody to be aware of what the ECOWAS Bank means and what it's doing to every business.
I mean, very important points laid out there, especially at a time like this with the global fragmentation. Thank you, Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar, for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure.